fighting to the end. Ukraine says its troops in Mariupol are holding on, but Russian airstrikes hit multiple targets across the country. Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex give their support to the Ukrainian competitors at the Invictus Games. And Russian airstrikes have hit multiple targets across Ukraine. It's as residents of the eastern Lugansk region are being urged to evacuate immediately.
Well, meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are holding on to the besieged port city of Mariupol. That's despite ignoring demands from the Kremlin to surrender. Sean Dilley reports.
Mariupol has not yet fallen, technically. Ukrainian troops who had until recently defended the now occupied streets are held up in the city's vast Azovstal steelworks, despite an ultimatum by President Putin's forces to surrender no later than yesterday. Russian troops know that Ukrainians are waiting inside, ready to welcome them with guerrilla tactics in their last stand for the strategic port city. As the rockets continue to fall across the country, a parallel information war rages. This unverified picture of the Russian Black Sea flagship, the Moskva, which sank on Thursday, was posted online. Ukraine claimed they struck it with 2 Neptune missiles. Russia insisted it had nothing to do with their enemy and that a fire caused an explosion that would eventually cause it to capsize while being towed to port. Meanwhile, shelling continues across the country, with President Putin's forces intensifying activities in the east. In Kharkiv, Ukrainian health officials say 5 people were killed and 13 injured after Russian forces shelled buildings in the centre of the city.
You know, when a dog hears a bang, it starts to tremble all over, even if the noise is far away. I'm like that now. Everything, every part of me is trembling.
Authorities in Mykolaiv say shelling has been unyielding. Rockets fell one after the other as Ukrainian forces tried to block Russia's attempts to advance on nearby Odessa.
We are doing everything to ensure defence. We are in constant contact with partners. We are grateful to those who really help with everything they can. But those who have the weapons and ammunition we need and delay their provision must know that the fate of this battle also depends on them, the fate of the people who can be saved.
The country's leadership is bracing itself for more attacks today, but talks have already started on what happens when the shelling stops. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has spoken to the head of the International Monetary Fund. It's expected the country will ask the IMF and G7 countries for $50 billion to help it rebuild. But the reality is no reconstruction work is possible until the conflict ends. Sean Dilley, BBC News.
Well, Dan Johnson is in Lviv for us this morning. Dan, it seems Ukrainian forces remain defiant in Mariupol.
Yes, the signs are that they ignored that surrender deadline that was laid down by Russia yesterday. President Zelensky said that his forces would fight on, that they were still equipped and that they were still defending the steel plant, which has become the scene of some of the most intense battles of the last few days, with Russian forces repeatedly trying to overrun that factory so that they can complete their takeover of Mariupol. And that seems to be why now the mayor of the city, or one of his aides, has said that Russian forces are now controlling entry and exit from the city, stopping people coming and going and requiring that people queue up for a pass in order to move around different districts of the city. The claim from the city council is that that's part of Russia's attempts to control the movement of people, to select who goes, who stays, who may be hiked off to Russia for questioning, who may have their phones removed. And this is all, they believe, part of Russia's broader attempt to cover up alleged war crimes that the city council believes have been committed against the population of Mariupol. The battle there continues.
We heard in Sean's report there about the explosions being felt in Kharkiv. What more do we know about shelling in other parts of the country?
Yes, Kharkiv's been one of the cities that's also come under intense, relentless bombardment. We know there were 5 people killed last night in renewed Russian shelling of that city. Other places across Ukraine have also come under renewed attack, and there's another air raid warning in place here in Lviv this morning. So there really is an edginess, a nervousness right across the country, even though so many people, especially here in the West, are trying to get on to some degree with life as normal. And President Zelensky last night said he really needed needed the flow of weapons to continue to come to the country. Otherwise, his fear was that cities like Mariupol would be wiped out by the Russians. And there's a report this morning that President Zelensky's invited the French President Emmanuel Macron to come to Ukraine to see for himself evidence of what President Zelensky says is genocide that has been carried out by the Russians under the areas they occupied for the last few weeks. No report yet on whether the French President will take up that opportunity to visit Kyiv like so many other international leaders have done already.